Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade. It is wonderful to have you here. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, I will be talking about all the books that I read in June. There's 10 of them. All I'm going to say is don't forget to hit like and subscribe and to follow me on my other socials where I post other bookish content. I film short form videos on my TikTok and post bookish posts and all my reviews on my Instagram. So go ahead and check those out. Let's just dive right into this June wrap up because like I said, we have 10 books and I am excited to talk about some of these. So this first book that I read from June 1st to June 3rd is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This book is about this girl. Her name is Sadie Montgomery. She's a struggling artist who does not have a great relationship with her dad because of the fact that she decided to be an artist. But finally, it seems like everything is coming together. She's a finalist at this art show, and if she wins it, she gets a lot of money as the prize. But also, she's been chosen for this finalist competition out of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants. And so she's very proud of herself. She cannot wait to get started and start painting her portrait. But something happens. She ends up getting into this accident and it kind of disrupts the part of her brain that can recognize faces. And so this doesn't really bode well for her chances at winning the competition because it's a portrait of a person that you have to paint and she can no longer see faces or see what she is painting. So as she's like going through the motions of trying to deal with the fact that she can no longer see faces, she's also starting to get a little romance in her life, which doesn't really happen, and she starts liking her dog's new veterinarian. But then this other guy comes into the picture and it's her neighbor, and so she starts having feelings for him, but she doesn't really have time to deal with the romance or, quite frankly, what's wrong with her brain because she has this once in a lifetime portrait competition that she beat out hundreds and hundreds of applicants for. And so the injury and the love, romance, and everything could not come at a worse time. I absolutely love this book. I think I gave it 4 stars. I could not believe how much I enjoyed this book. Catherine Center, I always say this, Catherine Center has such a way of making you care for her main characters so quickly, like right off the bat. I was rooting for her from page 1 because of the fact that she is a struggling artist. She does not talk to her dad. Her mother has passed away. And the reason why she doesn't talk to her dad is because he's like this world-renowned neurosurgeon or cardiothoracic surgeon. And he does not like the fact that his daughter, who was on the path to go to med school, decided to become an artist instead. And now she's struggling, trying to make ends meet because this is what she wants to do with her life. And so when this competition comes around and she's like, I finally have something good to show my dad, the accident happens and it leaves her with this rare condition. And so I just was rooting for her from the very beginning because I wanted her to succeed in everything that she wanted. I loved our male main characters. The fact that what we were dealing there was so fun. I was having such a grand old time. I could not believe that I enjoyed this one as much as I did because so many people said that this one, the concept of it was a bit weird, that they couldn't connect with the book because of that. I, however, absolutely loved it. Catherine Center, like I said, has a way of making you just care about her books and her characters, and I love this one just as much as I love the rom-commers. It took a second for us to get started, but once we did, I definitely enjoyed this one, and I would recommend this one and Catherine Center's other books. So this next book that I read from June 1st to June 5th, which was my June buddy read with my friend Jade over at Jade and Her Books on Instagram, was The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Look at these pretty sprayed edges. But I really did like this one. It was hate to love. The banter was unmatchable. I was kicking my feet while reading this and reading their conversations. But this is about our main character. She is a diviner. A diviner is someone who kind of gets taken when they're little. They're orphans, but they get taken and they go to live at this cathedral where they learn to kind of read someone's future. And so there are only 6 girls at a time that are diviners, and they don't have any names because they don't need names. They just have numbers, so they don't remember who they are. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our main character is 6. 6 meets this night, and he is a little annoying, and 6 does not like him. He's cocky, he's annoying, he's full of himself. 6 does not like him, but she meets him whenever the new king comes to get his fortune read, and 6 is the one who reads his fortune. After that, the diviners and the knights and the king bond, and they go out and they have fun, and they go to like this little town party, and when they come back, all the diviners start disappearing one by one. 6 Hicks is a bit nervous. She doesn't know what's going on. No one's listening to her. So she contacts the king, and especially the knight, because she realizes that the knight, the annoying guy that she did not like, is probably the only person who can help her figure out what is happening to her diviners. As I was saying, I love this book. There is a character in here. He is a stone gargoyle. His name is Gargoyle, and he calls everyone Bartholomew, and it is just so funny. It adds such a comedic relief to the book. I absolutely enjoyed this one. The tropes are slow burn, hate to love. The slow burn in here was amazing. Again, the fact that they dislike each other added to that like little build-up element. I absolutely love this book. I convinced myself that this was a standalone. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But the ending caught me off guard because it obviously is not a standalone. I think it's a duology, and so it ends, you know, it's an open ending that leads us into the next book, and I'm obviously not going to say what that is, but I was very shocked because, like I said, I did convince myself that this was a standalone. But I recommend this book if you want a duology, a little slow burn, hate to love, the banter is there, kind of romance. I definitely recommend this one. It's a fantasy, if I didn't already say that. So next book that I read from June 4th to June 5th is The Two Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. So this book is about our main character. Her name is Lydia. On the day of her birthday, her fiance, Freddie, gets into an accident and passes away. And this book follows her journey in living with the grief of losing her like high school sweetheart and just trying to figure out a new normal. And in her journey of acceptance, whenever she goes to sleep, she slips into this alternate reality where Freddie is still alive and the accident never happens. Like, it would be their life as if that tragedy did not occur that day. So we move forward in her life. It's just that Freddie's there still, and so she's just dealing with that depression of going back and forth, the fact that she misses Freddie. She always wants to be asleep so that she can see him and be with him, and her journey of, like I said, just accepting the fact that her previous normal is not going to be here anymore. Like, it's going to be different. So I went into this book believing that it was a romance. It is not a romance. It is definitely just a novel about a grieving widow and her, like I keep saying, path to accepting her fiance's death. If you read the synopsis, it does lead you to believe that it is a romance. It's not really. About like the last 20-50 pages, you do get a hint of that, but it is definitely not on the forefront of the book. It is not the main theme. It is not the main storyline. So do not go into this book thinking that it is. I thought that it was. For that reason, I did not enjoy this book. There are some things in books that I do not enjoy reading about, and one of them is dying or dead fiance. I do not like reading about that stuff for whatever reason. I'm not married. I've never been married, but that is just a big topic that I do not like to read about, and I did not know that this was going to be the main theme of the book. I thought it was just going to be that something that happened and we kind of move on, but with another person. But no, it's definitely just a self-reflective journey and her own journey going through grief. So I did give this one 3 stars, but if you don't mind something like that, if you're going through something like that yourself, I think this would be very beneficial to you, and I definitely would recommend this one. So the next book that I have that I read from June 5th to June 8th is Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. I was waiting for this book. For those of you who don't know, Rio is our main character, and we meet him in the very first book of the Windy City series, Mile High. This one's the 5th one. So, and he is a fan favorite. So everyone was definitely waiting for his book, and I will say it did not disappoint. While it is not my favorite of the Windy City series, I still definitely enjoyed this one. Rio is just such a fun, loving character, and that does not change when he gets into his relationship with Hallie. The tropes in this one are childhood friends to strangers to enemies to lovers. So if you like something like that, I definitely recommend. Hallie and Rio, our main characters in this book, met when they were like 10 and 11, and they started dating when they were teenagers. Something happens when they're like 18, 19. They break up, they go no contact, they do not see each other for years until Rio needs help designing his house, and his neighbor gives him this number of this great new Chicago designer, and it happens to be Hallie. And so Hallie ends up having to design Rio's house, and our story goes from there. And again, they were together when they were younger. They were best friends before they started dating, and we don't know what happened. We don't know the fallout. So you do get that as you keep going. But I definitely enjoyed this one. While it didn't give me a 5-star feel, I still really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And I definitely recommend you reading the Windy City series, especially before this book. They are all interconnected standalone, but Rio is such a loved character that you just need his background in the previous 4 books before you read this one. The next book that I read from June 10th to June 18th was A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This book almost put me in a reading slump. Not that it was bad, it's just I did not enjoy this one as much as I feel like a lot of other people did. I feel like a bunch of nothing happened. It was very anticlimactic except the last chapter, and not even the full chapter, just like the last couple of pages of the chapter. I knew what was going to happen. I definitely guessed the twist, but I love it when secrets get revealed. I love the drama that comes with it, and so I did enjoy the last chapter or two because of that reason. I felt like our main character was a little annoying. She definitely had tunnel vision throughout the whole book, and it made me, because I was fighting a reading slump, it annoyed me more often than usual, and I just wished I could have jumped in here and just shake her and be like, listen, it's literally, the answers are right in front of you. If you're just a bit more, if you could just see the bigger picture, you would definitely get it. But like I said, I did like how it ended, so I do think I'm going to pick up the next book. I just don't know when. I don't know when, but I do want to pick up the next book. I guess I should talk about what this book is about. Our main character, Freya, she is in an unwanted marriage. She was arranged to marry this man who is physically and emotionally abusive to her, and so she dreams of just killing him, of murdering the man, because she does not like him and she does not like the fact that she had to marry him. Well, one day her beloved husband betrays Freya to their region's jarl, which is their region's king, overruling leader, and it lands Freya into this huge problem that I'm not going to go into, but she ends up meeting the jarl's son. His name is Bjorn. But what no one knows is that Freya possesses a drop of a goddess's blood, and it is prophesized that the girl who has a drop of this specific goddess's blood is the one that can either unite or tear apart the whole region, and that is Freya, and the secret gets revealed. And so, like I said, it just drops Freya into this huge mess, chaotic mess that she has no idea how to deal with. And on the one hand, she has Bjorn who is bothering her, and on the other, she has this whole problem that she doesn't know how to solve. And so it makes for a very, you would think, dramatic, fun book. So that's what this one's about. Like I said, I gave it 3 stars, but I would recommend that you still read it, because I feel like if I wasn't fighting a reading slump, maybe I would have liked just a character-driven book like this one. The next book that I read is called Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. Before I talk about what this book is about, I will say, if you feel like you want to read this book, please check the trigger warnings before. It is very graphic, very disturbing, and I don't want anyone to read this book if they feel like stuff like that could be triggering to them, because it was very just squeamish. It made me very squeamish and just very I cannot believe people like this exist to do this type of stuff in the world. So please check the trigger warnings if you feel like you want to read this book. So the book is about our main characters. Their names are Lydia and Claire, and they are 2 estranged sisters who only reconnect because Claire's husband gets murdered. When Claire's husband gets murdered, there's also this local girl that is missing, and it kind of hits a little too close to home for Lydia and Claire, because back in the 80s or 90s, their older sister went missing and was never found. The current missing girl only brings back unfortunate memories for the 2 sisters. So not only are they dealing with the grief of losing their sister and never knowing what happened to her, Claire's also dealing with the grief of losing her husband. Because of the unfortunate circumstances of both of those tragedies and some new information that has been brought forward, Claire enlists the help of Lydia of how their older sister's disappearance 20 years prior is related to the circumstances here in the present at hand, the local missing girl and her husband's murder. I did enjoy this book. It was very graphic. I do not do well with things like blood and gore. It had a lot to do with that. I still enjoyed it though. I definitely needed to know what happens. Karen Slaughter, I feel wrote such a great book. A little disturbing, a little sickening, but she wrote it in such a way that just made you want to figure out what happened. I did not guess any of the plot twists, which is so unlike me, because there's this main one in there that I was that's always my go-to guess, and I did not even guess it. And so it's just a testament, in my opinion, to how great Karen Slaughter's writing was, because I just did not question nothing. I definitely was just in the moment while reading the book, and every reveal that got revealed, I was in shock. There's a little format in the book that is between every few chapters or so, and there are journal entries, and they are Claire and Lydia's father. Their father has written a journal for his daughter Julia, the one that went missing, Claire and Lydia's sister. I love the fact that Karen Slaughter incorporated the father's journal entries, because it made us actually be sad about Julia's disappearance 20 years prior. I feel without it, we wouldn't have felt such a connection to her because she went missing off page 20 years before the events of the book. And so I definitely appreciate and love that instance of the book because, like I said, it made us feel connected to her and it made us really feel her loss. I recommend this book if you want a thriller mystery with little hints of horror depending on what you can stomach, because unfortunately this book really does open you up to the horrors that men can commit. So I do recommend, but again, please check the trigger warnings and do not read this if any of that stuff triggers you, because it will not be a fun book otherwise. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I gave Pretty Girls 4 stars. So the next book that I read was an ARC, and I also read it on my Kindle, and I read it from June 19th to June 22nd, and that is Fall I Want by Lyra Parrish. I gave this book 2.5 stars. It's about our main character. Her name is Autumn. She's a resident of Cozy Hollow, and Autumn has been dreaming about this mystery man for years. One day, while at work at her local coffee shop, who walks in? None other than the man she has quite literally been dreaming of for years. And so our story starts from there. Our main character, his name is Alex. He's a billionaire. He stops at Cozy Hollow because he used to go there a lot with his mother when he was younger, but he hasn't been back since his mother passed away when he was younger. I disliked this book because it was just so cheesy. It was low stakes. We had a fake dating scheme that did not really fit into the storyline at all. It felt unnecessary and just like a waste of time. I feel I have very mixed reviews. Like I said, I did give it 2.5 stars, but on one hand, there were some parts where I did have fun, but most of the book, it was just like, it feels like it just wasn't fleshed out and written very well, which I hate saying that because I could never write a book. It was very character driven. Like I said, we have a fake dating plot at hand. I could not even remember why they decided they needed to fake date, but it was so low stakes. Like the problem got resolved like that and we never talked about it again. It was super cheesy, cringy, definitely gave Hallmark. It was small town vibes, billionaire, like romance, insta love. It's definitely a book that if you ever do pick it up, read it in the fall because we do talk. I mean, our main character is Autumn. The town is called Cozy Hollow. The book itself is called Fall I Want. I would read it whenever it is fall. This definitely was no plot, just vibes. So I recommend it if you like those types of tropes. If you want to wait until fall to get an atmospheric read. If you want a character-driven book, then I would recommend this one for you, but it just wasn't for me. The next book that I read, which I read from June 23rd to the 24th, is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I adore Ashley Poston. I gave 5 stars to both The 7-Year Slip and The Dead Romantics. The Dead Romantics is just one of my favorite books. I absolutely love that book. I read that peak fall. I listened to the audiobook when I was going on my walks, and a lot of people in this neighborhood decorate for fall, and so it was just so amazing. The air was crisp, scarecrows were out, ghosts and witches and pumpkins were on people's doorsteps, and so I absolutely loved The Dead Romantics. So when I heard that Sounds Like Love was released, I immediately went to the bookstore and picked up my own copy, and I loved it. I gave this one 5 stars as well. So if you haven't read any of Ashley Poston's books, then you should know that she writes a lot of magical realism. That is the main attraction to her books, and this one was no different. This one's about our main character. Her name is Joni. She is a very successful songwriter out in LA, but she has a secret, and that is she has not written a song in months. She's hit this roadblock. She cannot write a song, which is very difficult because, like I said, she is a songwriter and a very successful one at that. Every summer she goes home to her hometown in Vienna Shores, North Carolina, and when she gets there this summer, she's just down on her luck. She's down in the dumps. She's very sad. She's just very not the happy person that she normally is, because she feels like she's hit this roadblock. She doesn't know where she wants to go from here. She doesn't know about if she wants to continue being a songwriter. She can't even write a song anymore. So she's just down on her luck when all of a sudden she hears this melody in her head. She slowly starts to realize that the melody that she hears is a man singing, and she figures out that her and this man can talk to each other in their mind, but no one else can hear them, no one else can do it, and so she does not know who this man is. At first she thinks that she's just going crazy, but she slowly starts to realize that this is an actual physical man, and she doesn't know how this could be happening. But she figures out who this man is and she hates him. He's arrogant, he's rude, he's full of himself. She dislikes this man. But whenever you are stuck in someone's head, you start to get to know them on a deeper level, and they both figure out some things about each other. And he figures out Joni's biggest secret, the fact that she hasn't written a song and she's at such a roadblock and she feels so empty inside. And he starts to help her through that. She starts to help him through his stuff. And that slowly starts to morph into this fondness for each other. Like I said, I enjoyed this book so much. Ashley Paulson does magical realism so well. I just definitely recommend the romance, the banter, the hate to love, the magical realism, the fact that they can hear each other inside the other one's head. Like, it makes for some funny scenes together. I absolutely loved it. I devoured this. This is exactly what I needed after I read A Fate Inked in Blood and was slowly slipping into a reading slump, and Fall I Want did not help with that. But this one pulled me out. I came out of the gate swinging. I absolutely love this one. I definitely recommend, if you like any of the tropes I just mentioned. I love Ashley Paulson. I just recommend her as an author. Matter of fact, hit like, hit subscribe, leave this video, and go pick up an Ashley Paulson book right now. I love her though, if you could not tell. The next book that I read from June 24th to the 26th was Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I love Lynn Painter. I always say that she has a formula with which she writes her books, whether it be adult or YA, and it hits for me every single time. This is one of her YA romances that features fake dating, hate to love. I absolutely loved it. It's about our main characters, Bailey and Charlie. They both have something in common, and it is that their parents are divorced. Bailey's parents are recently divorced, and when she first meets Charlie, she's really struggling with it. She quite frankly never got over it, but she was struggling with it so much. And Charlie unknowingly, and even Bailey, like, they connected on that. And even though she did not like him at the time, she still found some comfort in the fact that his parents were also divorced. They initially meet on a plane. They do not see each other. Years later, she finds out that Charlie is actually her new co-worker, and they get reunited, and they end up scheming because Bailey's mom has this boyfriend, and she does not like the boyfriend. She does not want their lives to change. She just accepted the fact that her parents are divorced. Her and Charlie come up with this plan that they are going to try to break up the mom and her boyfriend. It makes for some fun scenes. No one ever gets hurt. That was my big like oh my gosh, I hope things actually don't escalate to such a huge point. But I did enjoy this one. I do recommend, if you like fake dating, strangers to hate to friends to lovers, I definitely recommend this one. And just Lynn Painter in general. Look at these pretty spray edges too. I think they're so gorgeous. I gave Betting on You 4 stars. And the last book that I read in June that I read from the 26th to the 28th was The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkoff. This is about our main character. Her name is Wiley. She's a true crime writer, and she goes to this house in order to finish her manuscript. And it's a house where 2 people were previously murdered in. So as she's staying there, this huge snowstorm hits. She goes outside to let her dog in before the snow starts getting worse, and she can't find him. So she goes looking for him, and she finds the dog with this little boy. The little boy is bleeding. He's hypothermic. So she brings him in to try to help him, and she slowly starts to realize that the snowstorm outside is not the most dangerous thing out there. That the little boy probably has the answers in order to help keep them alive. We follow 3 storylines, Wiley and the little boy, and then we go back 20 years to the events leading up to the double murder of the house that Wiley is staying in. And then we also follow a third POV of this little girl with an abusive father and a broken mother, and we do not know how she fits into the narrative. I absolutely love this book though. I gave it 4.5 stars. I kind of don't remember what I settled on. It was such an addicting story. I could not put it down. I needed to know how all the puzzle pieces fit together. I needed to know the outcome, what was going to happen. I was so addicted to the story. There's also really short chapters, and each of the 3 narratives are so interesting in their own right that never once was I annoyed whenever we switched to the past or switched to the present or switched to the little girl. I was just so in shock with the fact that Heather Gudenkoff wrote such an amazing story while we were following so many different people. Never once was I confused. Like I said, never once did I feel like I was annoyed the fact that we were switching so much. I definitely enjoyed this one, and I do recommend if you're looking for a thriller mystery with hints of true crime in there. So that's all that I have for you today. I hope you liked it. Despite the fact that I was fighting a reading slump there for a second, I did have a really great reading month. I love to read. I love a lot of these books that I did read, and I cannot wait to see what we read and get our hands on in July.